Hello and welcome to this video. On this video I'm going to be going through the 5... It's not the, is it? That's the wrong way to start it. Because I'm... Right, let's start again. Right. This is going to be the first video that is one of my sort of comedic hate videos since the Rick Beato interview. So anyone who's come over going, this bloke, Andy Edwards, he comes on and he says all terrible things that we all think but don't want to say, and and I want him to do it, and so I'm going to do it today. So on this video I'm going to be going through I'm going to get my throat cleared a bit. I'm going to be going through 5 pointless solo artists. I've done pointless bands. You can go back and have a look at that video if you want. And I did 10 then, but I've been told my videos are too long, so I'm going to be doing 5 today. I might do 5 more. I could come up with loads of these, really. So these aren't necessarily ranked. They're just 5 pointless celebrities. The comedy's the same, the ranking doesn't matter. But I'm going to make it look like it's a ranking video so that it draws people in, because they would like to know. Because the one that I put at number 1, when I thought, let's do pointless celebrities, and this bloke just came into my head straight away. And I thought, that's it, I'm doing it. Because I haven't talked about this bloke, and he is pointless. Now, what do we mean by pointless? Well, if you've watched that film Yesterday, which is a fantasy film where the Beatles never existed, and then this bloke, he knows about the Beatles, even though they never existed. He goes through some sort of time warp that erases the Beatles. And of course, without the Beatles, because the Beatles had a point, they had an effect on culture and music and all sorts of things. And it explores that in a comedic way. And there's many artists you could do this to, but not any of these. If you were to raise these artists off the face of the earth, right, and make that film, then the person would just walk around in exactly the same world, because they were pointless. They didn't really contribute anything to the world or music in any special way. Now, it's not like I hate them. They're not a Van Morrison or a Neil Young or a Patti Smith. I mean, they have a point. And the point is to get on my nerves, and it's like the other point in them is to make people who are not cool think they're cool by saying they like that music. It's all about, isn't it? It's all about a bit of that, isn't it? And we know those types. So that's what they're there for, aren't they? The Ramones. That's for trendy people who can't quite stomach AC/DC because the lyrics are politically incorrect. So they say they like the Ramones. Of course, the Ramones rock about, 5% of what AC/DC do. But that's by the by, doesn't matter. So I've got 5 here, and I'm going to go straight in. We're going to do a shorter video. It's like a taster. This one's going to be like a taster of this side of my YouTube. Because it's not the only thing I do. It's not the only string to my bow. Bloody Rick Beato going, oh, you've got a comedy channel. I didn't like it. Straight off, he was trying to niggle me with that comment. Well, Rick, I haven't taken the bait, and here I am doing it anyway, just because you said it. So, anyway, that's by the by. You're just chuntering on, Andy. You're chuntering on in a pointless way. It's just pointless what you're doing. Let's get straight in there. Let's ruffle some feathers. Let's get a bit iconoclastic and start to tear down some of these artists that are sat there in their privileged, comfortable, multi-millionaire lifestyle, jetting it around hither and thither, and then some bloke nobody on the internet comes and criticises them and takes the mickey out of them a bit, right? They don't care. They just laugh it off. If they do care, they're even sadder than we thought, and they should definitely be on the list. So don't feel upset about this, because they don't mind it. And I would swap places. No, I wouldn't. Right. At number 5 on my list of pointless celebrities, and I thought I've got to have someone who's relatively new. I don't want to be going right back and being the old man who's picking on, really, really old artists, because you got to be honest, once you start looking at new artists and you get to people like Rag and Bone Man and Post Malone and all these types, I mean, God, who needs any of them? So nowadays you've got to have some staying power, and I would say you've got to really up the ante of pointlessness. So it's almost like you're not pointless because You've taken the average pointlessness that all artists have and then embellished it, which this bloke definitely has. At number 5, I've got Bruno Mars. Yeah, that little chap. You know the little chap? The kid that won the talent contest? That's what he looks like, isn't it? You know, go on, son, get up, it's Butlins. You know, they got a talent contest. You know, why don't you get up and show them what you can do? And he gets all like this. I'm all like this. He's been told since he was a toddler he's the best thing since sliced bread. You're the best thing since sliced bread, Bruno. You're so good with all your impersonations and jokes, and you play all the instruments, and you sing great and dance around. You're like a little prince. Not like a prince like Prince Andrew Prince, but like Prince the artist Prince, that one, yeah, like it, not like Prince Andrew, no. Nobody wants a son like that, do they, really? Oh, I'm so glad the Queen's dead, that's all I can say. I'm sure she knew all these shenanigans was going on now. Just to add a little bit of comedy, it's got nothing to do with it, that photo of Prince Andrew that's come out, I think it's been blown up a little bit in terms of what he was up to, you know, and I've come up with a few scenarios that, you know, explain him being on all fours, which could have been any of these. So I thought, as I did them, you know, I did this for my own pleasure, believe it or not. This is the sort of thing when I get home and I want to relax, I do a little bit of photoshopping for my own pleasure. So here's that Prince Andrew as I've brought him up. Yeah, did you like that? Nothing to do with Bruno Mars. But you're here for entertainment, that's the point. You get all sorts here. New viewers, when you watch one of my videos, you never know quite what to expect. You've got to stay to the end. You just don't know what's going to happen on one of these, you see. Right? You get little nuggets like that. None of the other music YouTubers do this. Only I do it. Right. Bruno Mars. Looks like the little spoilt boy that won the talent contest. His nan thinks he's the best. His uncles think he's the best. And so he thinks he's the best. So he gets up and he does his routines. And good on to him. I don't think he's come from some privileged family where he's just been jettisoned into fame. I think his parents were in the business, but not in the top of the business. He's from Hawaii, isn't he? He's from Hawaii, like Magnum. But unlike Magnum, I don't believe Bruno Mars can grow a moustache like Tom Selleck. He's not. He's just a little boy to me. He looks like a little boy, and yet he's got all this bravado, hasn't he? He's always boasting about himself and going on about how good he is and how good he was the lady. I think, Bruno, they're only interested in you because of the money, right? You just look like a little boy. You know, that's what you look like. I know, you're not the Fonz, you're Chachi. That's who he is. Now, the reason why I put him on this list is because he actually does occupy a certain space in the modern pop scene. He occupies the space of an artist who has records in the charts that have more than 4 chords, and the chords have some extra notes in like maybe a ninth or something like that. And because of that, many people, musicians, desperate to find something to hold on to in the modern world, where they go, well, that's quite funky, isn't it? Oh, I quite like him. He's got some nice chords there, and it's all they can play, and they want to drop that on him, right? And it's teamed up with another bloke that gets on my nerves. And I like him. I started off liking him. I was listening to him before everybody else. Anderson .Paak. But the trouble with Anderson .Paak, he's just got a potty mouth. And I don't like people with a potty mouth. This is the trouble with the funk, you see. The funk, if you misfire with the funk, right, as Simply Red did on their massive album when they did that, something got me started, that's a misfire. You could try and be funky, but if you miss it, you're just cheese, okay? People who get away with the funk are people like George Clinton and Bootsy Collins or James Brown or Isaac Hayes, all right? Who's white that's funky? There's got to be someone. Well, look at Jamiroquai. See, I love Jamiroquai, but we know they're skirting close to the cheese the whole time, aren't they? right? And I feel that Bruno Mars is a little bit like this. His funk is a little bit on the cheesy side. It's a little bit on... He just reeks of talent show. He reeks of sort of cabaret almost for me. And yet everyone wants to go on how great he is. I don't think he's that great. And I don't think he's needed. We need an artist that does that for real. It's faux. It's faux. F-A-U-X. Faux. Ersatz. E-R-S-A-Z-T or Z. Anyways, ersatz and faux. I'd throw both of those on it. And plus, the other reason why I don't like him, because when I was a lad, we had to do French at school. I can remember walking into this bloody classroom, and they'd put, where we sat, he'd put these name tags. And someone was Pierre, and someone was, another French name. I don't know. What's another French name? Come on. Come on. French people. Name some French men. Just French names, Andy. Well, you'd have Andre, for example. That's a French name, isn't it? Under French surnames. Come on. This is what they've come for, is to what you think of French, not surnames, first names. Anyway, my name was Bruno. And as soon as I sat down, everybody started to go, hey, that's a dog's name, that. It says a dog's name. You've been called after a dog. And I went out to the classroom, as in the 70s would happen, and they all started barking at me and then just threw stones at me until I fell onto the floor. And then they got round into a circle and kicked me, which was usual, And I can remember sitting there thinking, this should be happening to another kid, not me. This should be happening to a little spoiled little kid like Bruno Mars. Not that I knew who Bruno Mars was, But once I was down, I couldn't get back up, and it's that bloody name, Bruno. And then to conflate it with a bloody chocolate snack. Right, now, I'm going on along. I knew I could go on about Bruno Mars for ages. I think the reason, he is pointless, and I gotta be honest, he does get on my nerves. That's why he's quite low. He does get on my nerves. He boasts. The only tune I can really recall by him is his signature tune, Uptown Funk. Now, that's a rubbish name for a song anyway. Oh, I'm going to do a funky song. What are you going to call it? I was thinking of calling it Uptown Funk. That's the most uncoolest, unfunky name. And then he comes out, and then he just boasts. He says there's all these nice ladies out there, and they're all nice ladies, and he says that he's so hot that he'd like to make a dragon retire. No, he would make a dragon retire. No, it wouldn't. The dragon wouldn't retire. They'd look at you, and in one puff, right, and I used that word puff advisedly, in one puff, he'd incinerate you. Bloody Mars. So, we'll move on there. That's a taste of the sort of thing I do, those people who came here for that type of thing. I can even do this for artists I really like. But Bruno Mars does get... There are some tunes I can tap along to. It's better than a lot of the shite that passes for pop music out there at the moment. And I'm sure they're the older people here who go, well, I actually quite like Bruno Mars. But he's pointless and we don't need him. We don't need Bruno. Just get rid of him. Send him back to the bloody Butlins that he can go up and do his Elvis Presley impersonations. Right. So, you get someone like Bruno Mars, and then in my country, we then tend to ape whatever's going on in the States. We bring out our own version of it, you know what I'm saying? And it's strange how we can get it so wrong, It's like, America has James Brown. Who do we have? Bloody Tom Jones, right? America has Earth and Fire. Who do we have? Jamiroquai, right? It always happens like this, right? So, who's our version of Bruno Mars? Well, right... The only reason I think this is because his surname is very similar. Bruno Mars, Olly Murs. Now, what the hell is Olly Murs about? Is he a great singer? He's okay. Is he a handsome fellow? I don't know. I'm not a lady. But for me, if you just take a picture of Bruno Mars, and I've put one up now, isn't his face too small for his head? Is that not his problem? Right? Now, there's nothing wrong with having a small face and a big head. There's nothing wrong with it. I've got many friends with small faces and big heads. But you could argue that I've got the other way around, that my features on my face are a little bit too big for my head, especially my nose, right? But, having a large nose, because you know what they say about men with large noses, is that we have large handkerchiefs. And anyone who's watched this channel for a while will realise that I do have an adenoid problem. I'm quite aware of this. When I'm talking on camera, you could always hear that I'm quite blocked up here, which is surprising with the size of my nose. You would think that this would be like a sort of, like a Ferrari of noses, able to take in vast amounts of air at the same time. I've just been buying a new washing machine. I went down Curry's to buy a new washing machine. Stood there for 20 minutes with the money. Right, I got money here. Look at this. You're not going to believe this. This is true, this is. And I know it's got nothing to do with it, but, this is what's actually niggled me. I've got cash here. Cash, look, cash. I'm in Curry's like this. I want to buy a washing machine, everybody. Can I buy a washing machine? I'm here, I'm standing here. All you got to do is come up to me and say, what washing machine? Well, I got that one there. I got the cash. Do you want it? Stood there for 20 minutes. 20 minutes and then walked back out. Right? And when I was in there, I'm looking at the loads. I want a big load. I want a washing machine that will take a big load, right? And I'm going to go for 11 kilogram one, but there was a 13 kilogram one. Whoa, massive load, Now I would say my nose is around about the 11 kilogram load in terms of washing machines. It's not like Barry Manilow, who's not on this list, by the way, because I love Barry. There's nothing wrong with Barry. You get rid of Barry Manilow and there's a Barry Manilow-shaped hole. And you know what that shape is? It's a great big ooter. No, Olly Murs, his face is too small, right? And then anybody who's just average and then gets picked to go on The Voice and be a judge. And he's sat there judging singers he can't sing as well as. And he's putting his penny in, 2 pennyworth in. That's what he's doing, his old Ollie. I feel like, what are you piped up for, mate? Right? Will.i.am, he does a bit of producing. He can spot talent, I suppose. You've got some bird on here that I don't know who she is. They used to have that, I don't know. They're pointless as well, whoever that one. Remember the one they used to have? They used to have that one on that does about I've got a big bum. It's all about the bum. What was it? All about the bum? She was on. Olly Murs should do a song called It's All About the Space Between My Facial Features and the Side of My Head. I think he might have heard his latest album. It's off its head. He's bonkers. I almost didn't put him on the list because my kids went, have you heard the Olly Murs new single? And it's bonkers. I don't know what he's trying to do. It's like crossing Bruno Mars with Chaz and Dave. Now, I know I look a bit Chaz and Dave today, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what elevated up for me. I thought he's off his head, this Olly Murs is. Maybe he's believing his own hype, but the point is, what is he? He's a cut-price British Bruno Mars. Okay? And in that respect, there's nothing there. And yet, he sits there, he's got his work, he's got his jobs, he sits on The Voice, and he tells people they're good when they're way better than him. Olly Murs, can't stick him. So I've done the 2 more recent ones for the younger people that have come here. We're now on number 3. Who did I put at number 3? Right, I've done 5, 4, we're on 3. I feel I've got too many. Who did you have at number 3? I have got too many. I'll take her out there. We'll save her for another. I was gonna have a go at Cher, but I'm gonna be honest. I had a really good go at Cher before, and I got all the comedy in there. But I've never mentioned this bloke, and there's no reason why I would, because we now get into the upper echelons of pointlessness. And when I mention him, you go, "Really? You're going to talk about this bloke? Why? I can't even really remember him. Who is he?" Right? It's Enrique Iglesias. Enrique Iglesias. Or as I call him, Enrique Double Glazius. Nick that off Terry Wogan. You all know, all people of a certain name. Because, of course, Terry Wogan used to call Enrique's dad Julio. Julio Iglesias. Julio Double Glazius. It was very funny, Terry Wogan was. I think my basic humour is taken from his excellent breakfast show that I used to get ready in the morning too, and he'd sit there playing Dolly Parton, Dusty Springfield, but he'd call her Rusty Springboard. Do you remember all that? I remember it now. Wonderful times when life was simpler. Enrique Iglesias. So, what have we got with him? Right, so let's start with his dad, because that's where the comedy is. To all the girls I loved before. And he basically has marketed the fact that he's a sex pest. The old Julio was a sex pest. In the 70s, they were called a heartthrob. Now they're called a sex pest. Go and have a look on the internet. He's awful. He wrote a song not going, I love this lady. It's not like Krista Berg, is it? Krista Berg's not on the list. No, not with Lady in Red. Lady in Red. That's written for his wife. He's dancing with me. I'm so happy that my wife's dancing with me. I mean, that's an English man, that. He's happy to be going out with his wife. He said, you got a nice red dress on. You look ever so nice. I'm so happy to be dancing with you. All of them.
To all, I cannot remember all of them individually, so I can't remember the names, to be honest, because really, when I say my past relationships, it's more people that I just accosted and threw myself at, and then the powers that be covered it up, because I can get away with everything. Remember the 1970s when you could get away anyway. And anyway, so I'm just going to do them all together. All you ladies, you know who you are. To all the girls I've loved before.
Right. So there's his dad doing that. He's out, and can you imagine the quality of women that Julio had? Can you imagine the quality? High quality everywhere. And so the sons he admits to would be in the top of that. You're talking right at the top. So Enrique's born, and he's ridiculously handsome, except he's been plagued by a mole. Now, you've got to be handsome to overcome a mole. Right, Robert Redford could do it, but his was placed in a better place to have a mole, And Enrique Iglesias, I'm sure he's got a mole. Now I've said it, I'm wondering whether he has, but I do seem to remember a mole. Maybe he hasn't. What if he hasn't got a mole? It's like bloody C-3PO's foot, isn't it? Anyway, so he comes out. And I wish I could sing one of his songs, because he came out with a whole bunch of middle-of-the-road pappy nonsense. And for some reason, he became huge. I mean, he sold millions of records. He was one of the biggest artists in the world. This is the definition of pointless. There he is. Who's buying his records? What is it about him? I mean, of course, there's a nepotism, because his dad's Julio, So does that have something to do with it? But he really was liked, and women fawned over him. Right. Enrique's done. This is when once you get to pointless, it's hard to say anything about them. Right, so at number 2 on my list, I have got Michael Buble. Now, I hate Michael Buble, right? Buble. Can't stick him. And I haven't really ever put the knife into Buble. Where are we going to start with this, right? We don't need Buble. The world does not need Buble, okay? Nobody asks for Buble. Nobody wants Buble. Where he came from, I don't know. Where he is right now, I don't know. But he's out there, right? And he's probably in a nice house. He's probably sat by his swimming pool, right? Why? I don't know. Why do we have Buble, okay? So, Buble is... I mean, people go on about Kenny G. I don't have a problem with Kenny G. But Buble is ostensibly, sorry to use such a big word on a video so stupid, he's ostensibly a jazz singer, which means he does a sort of softer, more insipid version of Frank Sinatra. Now, here we have Robbie Williams. Now, I'm never going to not put Robbie Williams on the list. I like Robbie Williams. His film where he's played by a monkey is very, very good. And there's something about Robbie Williams, and he is like our Bruno Mars, but he's not like Bruno Mars because he's Robbie Williams, There's an angst and a sort of tortured soulness to his sort of cheeky, chappy entertainment, which is quite compelling, I find. And now I've mentioned him. Well, why did I mention him? Because he did that Swing When You Winning. He went out and did that Frank Sinatra thing, and he wasn't as good as Sinatra, but he pulled it off, and we were all rooted for him because he's like our collective son on the collective talent show. Old Robbie, as he goes off the rails, he's come back, Don't mind him being a judge on that, whatever it was, Britain's Got Talent. He was on that was why, but he had to get his wife on, didn't he? I didn't like her. She seemed bossy to me. Anyway, Buble, he comes out as a jazz singer, and then so he's occupied in the same territory as Harry Connick Jr. Right, now let's compare Harry Connick Jr. with Buble. Harry Connick Jr. is a better singer. He's got more about him. He's actually better looking. He's got more swagger to him. He's got a touch of the Chris Isaacs, but he's also got a touch of the Hoagie Carmichaels about him, old Harry Connick Jr. is. Now, the reason I mentioned him is that I've got a CD of the car, and it's a best of Columbia jazz. And I put it on. Wayne Shorter's on there, Kirk Whallam is on there, a whole bunch of jazz people's on there, and I'm enjoying it. And then this piece comes on, and it's so beautiful. I'm thinking, who's this? It's very Bill Evans influence. Very, very beautiful piano player and an interesting phrasing. And I thought, who's this going to be? It was bloody Harry Connick Jr. playing the piano. He's the real deal, right? So we've got Harry Connick Jr. Now, Harry Connick Jr. can do as many Christmas songs as he likes. He can get as cheesy as he wants. He can do whatever he wants. But whatever he does, he would not drench his voice in auto-tune. A jazz singer that only comes out at bloody Christmas to try and take over Christmas, to try and occupy the same space that Mariah Carey has occupied, but in a male version. Buble sits there. That's why I was saying he's in bloody hibernation now, because Christmas is over. He's the cheesiest, nicest, pathetic waste of space that's ever been produced by music, right? He comes out with insipid songs. God knows who's buy these records, right? Drenched in autotune. We don't need Buble. He's insipid, and he's so insipid, it's a stain against humanity. He really is. I'm not saying I don't want to do anything nasty to him, but I'm sure he's a very nice man, and he's probably the one chap on here that if he's watching this would probably be looking down, not crying, because he's not that type of fella, but he's probably looking down, into his lap a little bit, going, I don't know, I only want people to like me. But that's your problem, Buble. You want people to like you, and it just comes across Michael Buble. Buble. That's the worst surname, right? That's a French name that doesn't make you attractive, Buble, does it? It's not like Enrique or Julio. It's not like that. Buble. Bruno Buble. That's what they should have called him. Should have got the dog thing in and the bloody, sounded a bit like, boob. 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 I've said it now. Buble. Boob. 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 Right? Boob. He's a booby. He's a big booby Buble, that bloke is. Right, we get to number one now. I only wanted this to be half an hour, so I've left myself with 3 minutes, and it's not enough to really explain how pointless this bloke is. Right, when I did this, I thought, can you say each of these persons' names with one word? So you can, if I said Bruno, you might think of Bruno Mars. Olly Murs, not so much. He's too, pointless. Enrique, maybe. Buble, without a doubt. Now, this guy might not be so well known to American viewers, and if he isn't, I apologise. I have no idea what the Americans know and what they don't know, and I don't want to know. And anybody watching in any other country, well, you're even less on the list of importance to me. But I want you here. Don't get offended by that. I'm just saying that I'm a British man, and I tend to think in a British way, and I'm old and I'm stuck in my ways. So, this bloke is pointless. He really is pointless. I know I'm building it up and I'm offending everybody around the world at the same time. I know I'm doing that, right? But just bear with it, right? Because it is only for comedy purposes. This guy is pointless. And I'm going to say one word. Weller. Wella, ooh, tell me more. That's what you're all doing now, isn't it? Wella, ooh, tell me more. What did Weller do that's bad? Tell me more. Why does he make you sad? Olivia Newton-John, she'll never get on the list. I love her. Love one of the loveliest women of all time. Beautiful voice. Looks good in a tight outfit in Greece, and Travolta. Travolta's a bloody genius. I know he's a Scientologist and off his head, but he has got a house with an airplane next to it. He has got a runway in his house. You know, you can't knock a bloke who's got a bloody runway and he's got his own flight crew ready to go to Travolta has. None of these people get on. They're all essential. We need them. We need Travolta. We need Olivia Newton-John. We don't need Paul Weller. Right? Now, I'm not saying this about the Jam. The Jam are great. I like the Jam. So he comes out in the Jam, and the Jam like takes all these aspects of punk and the sort of two-tony mod thing that's going on, and it puts it all together in a way that is sort of... I'm not going to knock them, but they could write a pop hook. They really could. You know, and so those are pop songs. They wrote pop songs where perhaps the Clash couldn't quite as much, unless they were covering someone else's song. That's entertainment. That's it. I mean, they're great set of songs. So I like the Jam. I like them. I think they're a great band. And he comes out doing this mod thing, doesn't he? Which is basically taken from the bloody Kinks and Small Faces and the Who. He's got this all going on, this mod thing in it. And he's got this haircut. He starts to get this haircut. He's got this bloody funny forward-facing bloody sort of, you know, Eric Clapton's 1967 bloody sideboards coming forward thing going on. And he starts dressing like that. And they got their small ties on and they're all like this. You know, Rick Buckler, Bruce Foxton. It's a great thing. Now, I'm not going to criticise the Jam, but I have to say this. When I was a very, very young man, I was around my friend's house, who was a girl, and so because she was a girl, she had a copy of Smash Hits. And I remember picking this up, and it was when the Jam was coming out, and they'd asked Paul Weller to put on his 10 favourite guitarists. Now, they were all crap, the ones he got on, right? They were all crap guitarists, you know. I was looking there thinking, has he put Jimi Hendrix on? Yeah. Has he put bloody Richie Blackmore on? Where's Richie Blackmore? Where's Michael Schenker? Where's Randy Rhoads? Where's all the proper guitarists? He's going on about somebody who played in bloody... I don't know, the Faces. He's probably got about Ron Wood or something. And guess who he put on the list? Can't remember what it was. He put himself on the list. And I took an instant dislike to Weller. I thought, he's a big head. Why is he such a big head for? He was all right. He's the lead singer of the Jam. Then he leaves the Jam and he forms one of the worst bands of the 1980s, Style Council. And Style Council didn't have any style. Now, that thing when I say, if you go towards the funkiness or souliness and you get it wrong, right, it just turns into cheese. And for me, the Style Council just reeks of some those sort of wine bars that used to exist back in the 1980s. You're just sitting there and all the blokes would have one of them bloody long fringy things coming down, you know, and they were all drinking bloody, what's it called, Malibu, and thinking they're in Miami Vice, and, you know, and the Style Council just reek of that. I couldn't stick the Style Council, right? Then, around about the early 90s, he decides to go solo, and now he takes on this sort of, it's like Traffic. He just copies other people. He takes whole, it's like just, it's a pastiche. It's always a pastiche with Weller, right? But you combine that with the arrogance where he places himself in the same bracket as like a Sting or a Peter Gabriel or as a Phil Collins. And there's a certain type of bloke who probably likes Oasis, who thinks that Weller is some great artist that's produced all this wonderful work. I mean, they call him the mod father. Do you know when mods existed? The mods existed in the 1960s. That's when you had the mods. And they listened to things like Northern Soul, you know, things like that, you know, all that, you know. Sometimes I feel like I just got to run away. Not the soft cell version, the original version, Northern Soul. They're into a whole bunch of stuff, the old mods. And they're the mods. So how can the mod father, right, be a bloke who was like a child when that was going on? Why have they called him the mod father? Right? I don't get it. Right? And when I was at school, because I was a rocker, okay, the mods at my school, they liked The Who I liked. They got long hair and guitar and riffs, and I thought they were like a rock band, like the rest of the rock bands I liked. And the Jam. Right? So there's something really pointless about Paul Weller. It's the fact that there are people that actually think he is critically valid, that he is of worth, that he's not just a shyster that copies, you know, Traffic and then copies the Small Faces and then copies the Kinks and then, you know, copies someone else, just regurgitates it. Now, he hasn't aged well, old Weller hasn't, and he looks, because he's on a rock and roll diet, so he's very skinny, And he has kept this sort of, you know, that sort of Noel Gallagher haircut that he really pioneered and made popular. He's still got that. And the other day, I saw a video of him on the internet, and they were doing some bricklaying around his house, and he showed everybody how to carry some bricks up on a hod. You know, we were all supposed to clap and go, oh yeah, you're 70 years old, you're fit, and you can carry some bricks up hard because you're working class. And you don't. No, you're not, Weller. You're not. You're not. So I hate when people put that on. Buble wouldn't do that. Give him his due. He'll just sit around his swimming pool looking mournful down at his lap. Go down, you had to go at me. Weller won't get mournful. He'll just think this is an affront, you know, and he'll probably start swearing about me and using the F word, you know, and being all offensive like that because I dare to call him out. But he is not one of the UK's great songwriters. He's not Joan Armatrading, right? He's not Nick Drake. He's not Peter Gabriel. He's not Kate Bush. He's not even Phil Collins. He's not Sting. He's not that, right? What is his greatest song? Take the Jam out of it, because the Jam were they were the sum of the band. It was the band altogether. Weller's songwriting combined with Rick Buckler and Bruce Foxton did create some magic, but it was derivative magic. They were a throwback. But since then, what's his greatest song that he's ever done? Right, if I said Lenny Kravitz, you'd be able to go, are you going to go my way? Or any of those songs. I wish I could fly right up to the sky. Oh, no, that's Orville, isn't it? Sorry. Anyway, you know, but even somebody like him, you know. Kravitz, bloody hell. I've done him before. But God, he's like the prototype to Bruno Mars, isn't it? Isn't he? Let's not get back to Bruno Mars again. But we have got full circle. We've gone round the circle. I've had a go at Weller. If you want more having a go at Weller, I can do this in detail. But this is a taster of the sort of thing I do every now and then on the channel. It's not all the time. Sometimes, I got quite serious with Paul Weller. I do think he needs shouting out. He's not as good as everybody thinks. That's the truth. Not Paul Weller. You know, Wild Wild Wood. You ever heard that? Bloody hell. You know. He's nicking it all off other people. You can't not see it just because he's got an haircut like it, you know. Some bloke who doesn't know anything about music, only band he likes is Oasis, and he's tracked it back and he's bought a Stone Roses album and a Paul Weller album, and that's the limit of what he likes. You know those types, you know. He's more interested in football and bloody going down the pub than he is listening to bloody John Coltrane or Ornette Coleman or, you know, Cardiacs or Residents or, you know, shall I name any other? So all that, you know, if I mention Cardiacs on here, it's actually news in the world of Cardiacs. So at the end of this video, I'm going to say, right, Paul Weller is not the real deal. Tim Smith is the real deal. Cardiacs are the real deal. Cardiacs, Cardiacs, Cardiacs. Everyone shout it. Cardiacs, 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 Cardiacs. Right? The Cardiacs are occupying their own space in music. There's nothing like them. There's nothing you can say that's like them at all. Right? If you took them out, there's a Cardiac-shaped hole. The trouble is, it's about this big because nobody knows about them. Right? Nobody knows about them. They should be national treasures, those people. And last year, they got an album out called LSD. One of the greatest albums of last year. I mean, it's bloody heavy going, I'll give you that. And they are heavy going. But once you're riding that Cardiacs wave, so, you know, this is another thing I do on this channel. I'll introduce you to new music, and if I can introduce the world to Cardiacs in every video, I will! Anyway, we're done now, aren't we? So that's the sort of thing I do. So if you want to see more of this, obviously like and subscribe. Put a comment on there. Give us some more pointless celebrities that I can talk about, because, you know, I'm looking for content all the time. Right, who can I hate next? Put it in the comments. Come on, let's have a go at some of these bloody icons. You know, let's pull them down a little bit. Let's have a laugh. Us normal people down the bottom of the pile. Come on, let's have a go at them. See what happens. Nothing will happen. You're right. It's not politics. It's not the end of the world. If I say Buble's name sounds like the word boob, it's not gonna do any serious harm to anybody. And if you've had a chuckle along to this, right, great. And see, the thing is, if you go, yeah, but I'm not just doing this just to get shallow laughs. I'm doing this to get deep laughs. And deep laughs are rooted in the knowledge that there's some truth to all of this. There's always truth. Within the laugh, there is deep, profound truth. If we can learn to laugh at each other, and yet in the same breath, put our arms around each other. If Michael Buble were here and Olly Murs, I would put my arms around both of them and I would draw them to my breast, cup the backs of their heads in my hands, stroke the backs of their heads and say, Buble, Murs, I know I've taken the mickey out of you, but I do love you very much. You're human beings and you do deserve some sort of dignity. As I pushed them into my chest. And they fought for it. What are you doing? I just stay here. Murs and Buble, I can get rid of you. And then I would be clutching what looks like bloody two great big Bubles like that, pressing them to my chest, holding them tight. I can't breathe them. I can't breathe them. Murs is like, my face is too small. My face is too small. You can obscure it very easily with one of your badly cherubby chests. Buble's there. Let me out, let me out. I've got a normal sized face, please. Take Murs. No, I got you now. I've got you now. You're not gonna survive it, you pointless people.